and welcome to my 14th knitting podcast episode. I am Diella and I will be your host today. And in case you missed it, the title of this podcast is Needle Addict. And I have my kitty here with me. Oh, she doesn't want to be picked up. Okay. The animals are all a little bit stressed at the moment because we've just had a massive storm. Yeah, apparently it's been the worst in like 30 years. And it rained like crazy and the wind was also crazy. It was like, I think it was like 60 kilometers an hour or something. It was really crazy. Like pot plants blew off our stoop and our veranda. And yeah, it's been pretty crazy. And I mean, we have been really lucky because we live in a brick and mortar house. There's been a lot of people who are a lot less fortunate than us, whose houses are blown away, roofs have blown off, power lines have fallen into people's houses, people are without power. We thankfully have had power the whole time. And there's been video footage of like water just like drenching cars, and it's been pretty bad. We have been incredibly fortunate, and things have been, other than crazy outside, inside they've been as normal, so we are really fortunate. And I'd just like to let everyone in Cape Town know that our thoughts are with you through this hard time, and I hope that everything gets fixed and sorted out quickly. People have been really friendly and helpful in giving aid, like food and blankets and airtime and that sort of thing, which has been wonderful. But the animals in our house have not been so calm. They're not really afraid of thunder, but they do, I mean, they don't freak out like some animals do, but they do kind of get a bit tense and start watching all over the place to see what's going on. Pan slept on my bed the whole of yesterday. Yesterday was kind of, I think, the worst of it. I think it's kind of over now. Unfortunately, Cape Town is suffering a really bad drought at the moment, and unfortunately this is not the end of the drought. We need rain over a prolonged period of time to kind of get rid of the drought, but any rain is good. Yeah, so on to where you can find me. I am on Ravelry as Craft Needle Addict, and we also have a podcast which is the Needle Addict podcast. If you just search in the group tabs, it'll be up there. And then we also, well, I also have a Instagram which is at xubex, sorry, at xubex, and yeah, you can find me there. I also have show notes, which I've just been terrible at the moment. I'm really sorry. I must get back to them, and I need to do this like whole backlog and everything, but I will get back to that. Okay, for my finished object is yet again a sewing object. It is the dress that I'm wearing, and I don't know, I'll try stand up and see if that helps at all. I don't know. But anyway, I really love this dress. Let's see where to start. Okay, so I made this dress using a New Look pattern, which is New Look 6299, and on the whole I'm pretty happy with it. I love how it turned out. My one complaint about the pattern is that I found the collar construction a bit confusing. It said to sew along the one edge, it said like sew along the unnotched edge, and I was sure I sewed along the unnotched edge, but I ended up sewing on the wrong side. So I sewed up the wrong side of the collar at first, so I had to unpick that, and I ended up sewing some stuff by hand just to like be extra certain. So the collar was a bit tricky, but in the end I'm quite happy with how it turned out. So yeah, that was my only complaint, is that I found the instructions for the collar were not very clear. My mom helped me as well, and we kind of went through it and figured it out, but it wasn't very clear. It was a bit confusing. But other than that, I was really scared about doing these like little triangles that you insert into the skirt to give it more flair. And I'm not sure how you pronounce them, whether it's godet or godet, I'm not sure, but I'd never sewn those before, and so I was a little bit nervous about them, but they were actually pretty easy. If you just like take it slow and follow instructions, like they were fine. So, and I really like how they made the skirt look. I was in two minds about them, but I'm really glad that I did use them. And the fabric is actually curtaining fabric. It comes from my aunt. Yeah, it comes from my aunt, and she reckons that it's from like the 80s, so it's almost vintage fabric. But yeah, I just really like the way that the stripes went, and I thought they would make a nice dress. And also for sewing dresses for Scotland, I wanted something that was kind of thicker and would give me more warmth, because I enjoy wearing dresses and not just during summer. So I, like now, the weather's a bit chilly. I think it's about 10 degrees outside. Well, that's what my phone said, I don't know for sure. But I'm just wearing this and a cardi and some leggings, and I feel great. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did modify the sleeves slightly. You can't really see them here, but I've done like a little cap sleeve, and that is from another New Look pattern. It's from the previous dress I sewed. I'm really sorry, I can't remember offhand. I can't remember offhand which pattern that was, but I used those sleeves instead, because the sleeves that they recommended for this dress go all the way under the arm. And now I have a problem, like I've said before, I have quite fairly large shoulders, and so I find that if I sew the dresses to fit me, then underneath my armpit it always cuts in. And one dress which I sewed and I didn't do any adjustments to the kind of shoulder area, it actually cuts into my skin, and by the end of the day I have like a big red mark where it cuts. So I find it very important to make sure that I've got more space. Even with this one, I actually cut extra material out from underneath my armpits. And so I felt that it would be best to do a sleeve that was just kind of floating on the top. It doesn't go all the way under. So I was just saying, I'm sorry, my camera card got full. So I was just saying that I always find it important to have like a little bit of a sleeve, and that I find it easier to not have it connected, so that I can cut out some of the bust area. But other than that, I'm really, really happy with the skirt. I got such lovely compliments on it. I wore it to my brother-in-law's birthday party, and my mother-in-law and my father-in-law both were very impressed, and my brother-in-law's girlfriend also said she recognized that it was handmade, and she said she also used to make dresses, and she can't wait for her sewing machine to come back to, if she's not from South Africa, she can't wait for her sewing machine to arrive. And yeah, I just got lots of compliments, so I was really proud of it. Especially as it was the first time I did the collar or anything with the godets. And also something which really helped me, which I haven't done before, is, I think it's because I always shared patterns with my sister and my mom, I don't usually cut the pattern to size. I usually just fold it to the size I need and then cut around. And I have always struggled with having parts that don't match up, or that aren't quite right, or that my seams never seem to be exactly correct or anything like that. And so this time I actually decided to just go ahead and cut the pattern to size, because I've been the same size since like high school. So I just decided I was going to go ahead and I was going to cut it, and it was so worth it. Sewing this up was a dream. Everything was the right size. It was so great. So that I'm really happy that I did that. Hey, Pan. So on to whips. I have two whips to show you this. Oh, I have another finished object. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about it. Because this has been finished for a while, but I just finally finished it off properly. So this is the little jersey that I knit for my sister's friend who's having a baby. And it took me the longest time to sew these buttons on. It's really bad. Because I just didn't get around to buying them, and then even when I bought them I just didn't feel like it. But the baby shower is this weekend. And so I'm actually going up to my parents' holiday house in Azefontein, but my sister's staying here because she's hosting her friend's baby shower. And so I had to have this done by then. So it's not done, and it's so cute. It's so tiny and so cute. A little tiny person's gonna wear this. I'm so excited. I knit it at a slightly, it's not a newborn size, because babies, in my very tiny experience of babies, grow really fast. So I thought I'd knit it a bit bigger, and then however big the baby is, she'll fit it, or he will fit it at some point. That's also why I did it in red, is because they're not 100% sure on the gender of the baby. To be honest, to be perfectly honest, for myself, I don't really feel like boys need to wear blue and girls need to wear pink. Like, I don't think it matters. They're babies. They can wear whatever. I mean, there's pictures of my dad in a christening dress. He has like a full-on dress. So, I don't think it matters, but I think that the mother minds. So, to make the mother happy, I chose red because I thought that it wouldn't matter if it was a boy or girl. So that is this little thing. It's so cute. So onto whips. I first of all have my mother's shawl, and I will check for you right now. This, I'm not using a specific pattern. I've made up the pattern, but I will check. I keep forgetting what size needles these are, so I will check for you right now. Wait, that is US. No, I want this one. Yes, it's a 4mm needle, which is a US size 6. I don't really know, don't understand that, but anyway. So it's a bit on the large side for these, it's a bit big for these needles, so I can't show you very well, but I am totally loving how it's turning out. So it starts off with like some stockinette, and then it moves into some eyelet, and then some garter stitch, and then we have some more stockinette, and then more garter stitch, and then some stripy stockinette, more garter stitch, some eyelets, and more garter stitch. And I'm about to do the ending. If I remember correctly, my mom wants a picot bind off, so I'm gonna have lots of fun doing over 300 stitches worth. But we'll see. I am so excited to see how it is all blocked out and finished and everything, but I'm also super happy with how it's turned out so far. I don't know what else. Oh, so the yarn, the main color, this sort of grey and yellow and brown color, is from the Sip Sip yarn, which I bought. It's the Belum Sip Sip yarn, which I bought from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and it doesn't have a colorway, unfortunately. But I will post a link to their Etsy shop, and I really enjoyed working with this. I remember previously I spoke about the Belum Sip Sip yarn I used for my mother-in-law's shawl, and I wasn't very impressed because there were a couple of points where it was tied. I don't know if that was just a dud hank because, or skein, because this one's been great. There's been no tied knots or anything, so I don't really know what happened there, but this is great. And then for the contrasting bluey grey colour, I'm busy using this L sock yarn. It's the colour is called Bermuda 050, and it's been a really good yarn to pair with this. It's very, very soft, and the colour just, to me it looks like they were meant to be together. So I'm very happy with that. Don't think there's much else I can tell you about that. I knit on it the whole of yesterday. I'm just at the point where I'm about to end off, but I knit the whole of yesterday and I ended up getting neck ache from knitting so much. But I think it was also because it was such a stormy day. I just stayed in bed and knit with Pan Pan. Kept Pan Pan company. Sorry, are you bathing? Are you having a bath? Okay. And then my last whip I have to show you is this the right one? No, it's the wrong bag. Oh, it's in this bag. Sorry for reaching. It's in this bag. This is a pair of socks for my mother. And this is how they are so far. I am knitting it with this. This is a Regia. I, for the life of me, cannot. I looked on Ravelry, and I couldn't find the colorway name. So the color is 03772, and I'm calling them my ice cream socks because I think these totally look like ice cream. And I'm doing these with the Harris Tweed pattern. So it's a free pattern on Ravelry. Oops. So that is the pattern, and it's the first sort of textured pattern sock that I'm doing for my mom. It's the second one that I'm trying. I've kind of done a little bit of a vanilla latte sock for my husband, but that kind of got abandoned once I came here because I've been trying to knit for my family while I'm here. So these are the Harris Tweed ones. I believe it's quite a similar pattern to the blueberry waffle ones, but this is the pattern my mom saw and the one she liked, so this is what I'm going with. And so far it's going well. I'm enjoying it. It's obviously a little bit more tricky than just plain vanilla socks because you have to purl as well. But so I think these are going to take me a bit longer than socks usually take me, but I think they're coming out really nicely. My mom really likes them, and that's what matters since they're for my mom. Another thing I'm doing is, this is the second time I'm trying to use my 2.25mm needles, because I was watching the Yarn Hoarder podcast by Amber, and I'll put a link to that below in the description box. She's a great podcast. You should really check it out. I love watching her podcasts. I was just, like I said, sitting in bed knitting during the storm and had Amber to keep me company, and it was just wonderful. And so yes, she was busy showing some of her socks recently and how they've worn, and she was saying that she knits quite densely because she uses a 2.25, and that socks will tend to wear better if it's a more dense material. So I decided that in the sort of hopes of making my socks last better, I should really try and figure out how to use the 2.25mm needles, and so that's what I'm doing. So usually I would knit my mom a 64 stitch sock, and so I cast on 72 stitches. And she's tried it on so far and it seems good, so I don't know if it's a bit big or not, but it seems good so far. So yeah, it's working, and I'm enjoying working with it, but as I said, I think these are going to take me longer than I usually do for socks. And I have no acquisitions this week. I have not been visiting Greg or anyone. And so I think that is it for the knitting sewing portion of this podcast. I don't really have much to share with you in my sort of needleless chatter section. My visa is still just waiting. To be honest, every time I get an SMS or WhatsApp now, I'm like, oh, is it my husband telling me it's been approved? But I've still got quite a while to wait. I think the maximum amount of time it should take is until the 19th of July. So I've got quite a while to wait, but I'm really hoping that it'll be approved sooner and I can go back sooner, because I'm really missing my husband. I know I say that every time, but I really am. So yeah, I don't really have much else to tell you. I can see a bit of sun peeking out. I think that the storm has generally passed. I'm going away for the weekend to my parents' holiday house. Yeah, I think that's it. So much shorter than last time. Last time was a ginormous episode. It was really long, and it took me like 8 hours to upload it. It was crazy. But that's just because the internet here is very much slower than in Edinburgh. But yeah, that'll do. Pan, are you sure you don't want to say hello? Oh, no, she doesn't. She really doesn't. Maybe I'll take another video of you. But yes, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the podcast, however short it may have been, and I hope that you're all doing very well and that you are enjoying knitting. Bye bye!